So you should now have a piece of writing that has been completed. If you haven't quite got to the end of your writing, please keep going with it until you get to where you have finished. Over the next 2 lessons, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be editing our writing, and then tomorrow you are actually going to be presenting your writing in the style of an informative non-chronological report. So we'll be showing you some of those and getting an idea of what it could look like set out on a page. Before we do that, we need to make sure that it's been edited. We've checked it and it is the best work that we could possibly do. Okay, so we're going to go through some examples of how to do that, and we're going to look at a few examples together. So here's just the audience and purpose to help you out again. It should be pretty clear now who we are writing for and why we are writing. For this editing session, if you have got a coloured pen, that would be really helpful. Like in class when we use our purple pen, don't worry if it's not purple, and don't worry if you haven't got a different colour, it's absolutely fine. But if you have, it would be really useful to have that with you. So we're going to think about how we edit our work. At the end of the previous couple of lessons, we've talked about proofreading. Proofreading should always happen before you hand in your work. These are things that you are able to check, thinking about your capital letters, your understanding, your punctuation, your spelling. The editing can happen throughout, but we do a lot of it when we come to the end of the piece of writing. You'll be able to use things that we've suggested when marking your writing to also add to this. When we're editing, we think about using arms. So we add, we remove, we move, or we substitute. So if we're adding, we might add in a sentence, we might add in a word, okay, to improve it. When we remove, it might be that something doesn't make sense, or there's a word that doesn't work within that sentence, or there's a sentence that's in that you don't really need. So at that point, you would remove it. If we're moving something, you might move something within the sentence. So think about our cohesion. You were doing this the other day and moving sentences within a paragraph. When you move something, it doesn't have to be that the whole sentence moves. It might be that you change some of the detail. You might, if you've used a subordinating conjunction, rather than using that subordinating clause at the end, you might move it to the beginning. So there's lots of different things that you can do with that move. Substitute, think about football. If you substitute, you swap. So it might be that you've used a word and you think it's not good enough. I would substitute it for something else and change that word. So we're going to be using these in the next couple of slides, and then you're going to use this in your own writing. So I'd like you to have a read through this piece of writing about Temple of Warriors. And I want you to think about, can you see any problems? When you identify a problem, I'd like you to jot it down, and then I'd like you to have a go at improving this. So think about cups first of all, and then think about using arms. And I'd like to see a jotted down improved paragraph, please. So here you should be able to see my first draft and my edited sentences. So the first thing I did is I thought about any cups, and I'd highlighted those in red. So any capital letters or full stops that were missing, those are in red, and I've shown you in red on the edited side where I've changed them. We're going to focus on the green and what I have added or what I have removed or moved, okay? So the first thing that I changed was, it said in my first draft, it was a very big structure. I didn't think that those vocabulary choices were very good, and I thought I could change that. I've changed it to it is a large structure. I then felt by just saying it was a large structure, the reader wasn't able to visualise what I was talking about. You will have all seen the picture by now, and we know that it has different platforms and that there's a temple on the top. So I needed to be able to tell the reader this. So I've changed it to, the Temple of the Warriors is a large structure with 4 platforms and a temple sitting proudly at the top. Now that reader is able to really visualise. I've then changed it was to this temple. Rather than saying it, I've changed it to this temple. So this temple was very important as it was the only place big enough for large gatherings. In my first draft, those were two separate sentences. I said it was very important. It was the only place big enough for large gatherings. I've joined these two sentences with the conjunction as. In my next sentence, I've moved something within that sentence. So in my first draft, it said, it has 200 columns to support the structure when it was inhabited. I didn't think that made sense. It didn't tell the reader what I wanted them to know. So I've moved the when it was inhabited. And it now reads, when it was inhabited, the 200 columns to support the structure were very important. We know they were important because we've read before about that roof structure. Okay? I've used commas within there because I've added some extra detail to support the structure. I've said what they were used for. Okay? So you should have now edited your work. Okay? Make sure you've gone through each paragraph, thought about, are there any cups that you need to change? Are there any arms that you need to do? Okay? And by the end of this session, you should have an edited piece of work ready to write up tomorrow. If you need any help with anything, you're not sure what you should move or remove, have a look back at anything that we've marked, or if you want a little bit more advice, just send us a message and we'll help you out. I've popped in the next two slides the success criteria so you can look back and check if there's anything else you need to improve. And in the next slide, it's just got the year 3, 4 and 5, 6 spellings. Check that you've got some of those in there and make sure that you've underlined them. Once you've edited your work, you can upload that onto Edmodo.